Well, welcome everybody to the Gary Neville Podcast, which today has special guest Jamie Carragher for equality of thought after a really remarkable football match between Manchester United and Liverpool. Remarkable, fellas, for so many reasons. Your blank expression kind of tells you, Jamie, that...
Oh, he's fuming.
Yeah, okay. You've got to the point, as ever you do, Gary. Listen, I don't need to ask a question. Talk about that football match.
I mean, Manchester United's, I suppose, style of play, way they play is mad. It's mad. I mean, some of the things that you see out there you wouldn't see at schoolboy level. Their structure at times defensively goes from, you think, right, they're in the shape now, they're okay. And then they can go to sort of like all of a sudden emptying the whole of midfield. Players press on their own without the rest of the teammates going with them. You have players in front of the ball on throwing, so the ball gets thrown in behind towards the back four. All the things that you just sort of, if you like, see as being the easiest things in football to do, Manchester United do really badly. And they're so easy to play against. Liverpool had 15, 16 shots in that first half. And you can't really coach that type of performance. You're just relying upon individual moments, luck, goalkeepers making saves, defenders making blocks. And that's what we've seen from Manchester United today. I don't think there's any lack of endeavour. There's no lack of desire in the team. There's just no sense to their actual performance levels. And then from Liverpool's perspective, just absolutely the same as the FA Cup game. Wasteful, profligate, and could regret it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when you actually look at the league table, Liverpool are still in a really good position. But I tell you, there's one thing I am sick of. And it's actually some of my own friends and Liverpool fans going into these games and talking about scores. I hear it all the time on WhatsApp groups or someone say, I think we'll win 3-1 or 4-1. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of hearing it. Don't
Change
ever,
your mates.
No, I know, but don't ever underestimate how tough it is here to come. I don't care how bad Manchester United were awful for probably 70-80% of that game. It's still 2-2. And you know what? At times when they were top dogs and they'd come to Anfield, I remember when you were going for the treble, the game finished 2-2 at Anfield. We were a very poor Liverpool team, but we still scored a last-minute equaliser. Went 2-2. Obviously, they went on to do what they do. And that's what these two football clubs can always do, no matter how much, the other one's in the ascendancy. And we saw the difference in quality on the pitch there. We just saw it. I'm sure the stats will back that up as well. But you've never got the game where you feel you've got it. And I think the one thing when you're talking about sort of the difference, certainly between Liverpool and Manchester City, is how clinical Manchester City are. And I just think a lot of those counter-attacks, they play that better pass. And the teams are different. I get that. Liverpool are more just, end-to-end, pressing, a bit mad, if you like, but it's a bit more sort of composed with Manchester City. But I think the one player Liverpool have missed here today is Jota. They need him back badly because Liverpool score a lot of goals, but they also miss the most chances in the league. I think they've hit the woodwork more than any other team in the league. So when you think of the finishes they've got, you'd say, OK, Salah gets the goals, but the others are a bit scruffy. They get goals, but are they clinical enough? And I just think of some of the situations Núñez had today, and I think if Diogo Jota is on the pitch there for Liverpool today, I think there's a great chance Liverpool are coming away with 3 points.
I wonder what you were both thinking deep down, given your partisanship, which we needn't hide here, whether at half-time, Gary, you were thinking, oh my goodness, this could have been 4-5-6 and United might still get a whack, or whether there was a part of you thinking, do you know what, given what's happened, we might get away with this. And Jamie, obviously there's a flip side to that coin. We're thinking, oh my goodness, we could pay for this, or actually the boys are fine, they're going to go on.
Yeah, I mean, at half-time, it would be wrong of me to sit here now and say that, I thought Manchester United would come out and do that in the second half. I thought that Liverpool would come out and Jurgen Klopp would have been angry with them at half-time. I was relating it back, I said to you at half-time, didn't I, about how our manager would be in a moment like that where we were 1-0 up, should have killed the game off, should be 2 or 3. He would have killed us at half-time. We would have gone in 1-0 up and he'd have killed us. In a big game like that towards the end of the season, and I used the word threatened. Jurgen Klopp will have threatened his Liverpool team. Not threatened physically, but threatened them. You dare come in at the end of this game having given them a chance. They should be nowhere near you. And that's what I remember, those types of team talks. He'll be livid, Jurgen Klopp. He'll be absolutely livid that Manchester United weren't put to bed in that first half. So the one thing I thought at half-time was, I thought Liverpool's chance to put United to bed was first half. I always thought that before the game. I said it on the pitch out there. The first 30, 40 minutes was where I think you've got to kill the game here. If you're going to win, not easily here, but if you're going to win If you're going to win here, go and score 2, go and score 3. Don't go in 1-0, because 1, I agree with Jamie. We never talk about sort of Old Trafford having that same aura and presence about it for Liverpool as we do with Manchester United going to Anfield. But we should, because if the game is never dead. You cannot ever think you're safe here. And we at Anfield, sometimes when we went and scored 2 in the first half at Anfield, I thought, right, okay, even if they scored 1, it was just damaging to think you've scored 2. 2 goals going in the back of your net at Anfield in the first half or at Old Trafford. But your opposing fans going quiet on this level of game, that used to be the worst feeling in the world. The eeriness in a big game of the opposition fans in this far corner celebrating whilst the 72,000 are quiet is devastating for us as players here. So Liverpool should have gone and got that second goal. So when they got to half-time and they were only 1-0, I was thinking, I'm grateful, because Manchester United was so bad. So bad. I mean, look, first 10 minutes maybe not, but defensively, I'm not talking about defensive as in defenders. I'm talking about the structure of the team and what they do. It's terrible. It is terrible. So I was relieved more than anything that there was still some sort of half chance.
So, Jamie, what can Jurgen Klopp do, given all that Gary said, in that circumstance, when Liverpool have essentially played well in 95% of the facets of the game? As a layman, all I can think of him to say is say to his strikers, score. I mean, what else is there?
Yeah, listen, when you talk about namely Núñez, who's Liverpool's centre forward, he's not going to change from what he is. He is what he is. He's going to miss chances. He's going to be dangerous all the time. He looked dangerous today, but that real clinical edge of the real top level, he hasn't got that. And I don't think he ever will get that. Mo Salah's role, that's Mo Salah's role in the team. And you actually think there was a chance, I think, just before half-time, Mo Salah back post on the volley. A lovely height for him. More often than not, you think that's going to end up in the back of the net, or it has to. And listen, the attacking players have cost Liverpool today. They haven't done enough. And it was almost that feeling that because Manchester United is so poor, there'll always be another chance. It'll come again. We'll get a counter-attack again in 3 or 4 minutes. And it felt like that in the first half. It didn't feel like one of those away games where you feel like we've all been to big away games where you think if you get a chance, you've got to take it because you're not going to get too many. That feeling, I think, through the Liverpool team is that, we'll get another one. It'll come again. And, those chances did keep coming. You think of the one Salah missed as well. He hit over the bar with the right foot. And listen, we don't know yet. Is it going to cost Liverpool? Because, you look at Manchester City and Arsenal now in great form. But Liverpool haven't had to perform poorly here. That almost makes it worse. It makes you more frustrated as a Liverpool fan, and probably make Jurgen Klopp more frustrated that it was so easy that they should have just won this game 3, maybe 4-1, and they've allowed a game and Manchester United and the history of this fixture to this crowd to get up and just take the game away from them.
The 2 obviously big events of the game, given we anticipated Liverpool goals, were the Man United goals. And maybe Carra comes to you on the Mainu goal, which was class, wasn't it? But start with you, Jamie, for unfortunate reasons on the Fernandes goal, because you and everybody who watches top-level football has been raving over poor Jarell Quansah, who's had a bad moment. And listen, you had bad moments, all of you top professional footballers did. How is he going to deal with that?
Well, listen, he's got to get over it. I always remember Trent Alexander-Arnold here having a tough time as a youngster one game. I think up against Marcus Rashford. And listen, it's part of growing up, certainly as a defender. And I've been there as well, made plenty of mistakes. And Jarell Quansah made plenty more because that's the unforgiving position. And that's why we always talk about young goalkeepers or young centre-backs, because when you make a mistake in that position, more often it ends up in the back of your net. But even though it was really sloppy, because I wasn't quite sure if he'd seen Fernandes, but actually looking back at the replays, I think he actually does see him. But when you're passing with your left foot, you've got to give it everything. You've got to be more concentrated, because it looks like a lazy pass, but it's because it's on his left foot, and you're never normally as strong on your weaker foot when you punch that pass in with the side foot. But even though he's made a mistake, it's a mistake, but I think it's more about the finish than the mistake. I mean, that is... You talk about that. I mean, Bruno Fernandes, we speak about him a lot, but that was absolutely out of this world, wasn't it? The finish, absolutely world class. So he'll make plenty of mistakes in the future. A lot of them round the halfway line, but that will very rarely happen. That's one I think you've just got to take on the chin. But as I said, it just plays into the fact of what we said in the FA Cup game and what we said here. The only way United were going to get back into the game is Liverpool being sloppy, and it was a sloppy pass.
Yeah. As you rightly say, not everybody would have scored then. Bruno Fernandes did absolutely brilliantly, as indeed did did Kobbie Mainoo, who I guess we all saw, didn't we, when he played at Everton, and we thought, oh, this is a good scampering little midfield player who's putting it in, and God bless him. But my goodness me, he's got a bit more than that.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm a bit worried about him, actually, just leading up to this game, because I just thought there were signs after the international break where he was under so much scrutiny, just in a good way, because of everyone thinking, oh, England have found another midfield player. I just thought against Brentford and against Chelsea, there were signs that maybe just it's natural when you're a young player, just dipping a little bit, just feeling it a little bit, the whole thing of the England. You're going to go to a tournament, and the expectation, how people have spoken about him, how we speak about him. But today, to produce that moment again, you've got to be pretty special to produce a moment like that as a one-off. But in a game like this, against Liverpool, as a young kid, there aren't many that do that. There aren't many that do that, and he is a fantastic talent. And he's playing in a team that lacks any type of organisation in midfield. Him and Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes in there. I mean, they're three really good players, obviously individually, but you just look at them and think, where's the cohesion in terms of how they play? It's mental, it's madness, chaotic. I mean, you can't use any other words than that. But he has a great temperament. He takes the ball. He can do most things pretty well, very well, and exciting for Manchester United.
Well, when you talk about being chaotic in midfield and you talk about them being three players, that obviously comes down to the instruction, the setup of the team. Do you think that's ever going to change under this manager?
Carra, I don't get it, because to be fair, the back four is quite sort of narrow and tight, performs like a normal back four. The only part of the team that I see perform, even the front three, the wide two do go back with their sort of full-backs. Traditionally, the only three in the team that actually do something that you would say is different than what would be normal are those midfield three. And the rest of them are playing what you would class as being a normal structural sort of 4-5-1, 4-3-3 defensive shape. But these three in midfield, I keep mentioning the throw-in. It's really simple. If I've got a throw-in here and I'm going that way, the defensive midfield players should be in front of me so I can't get it into the forward players. Manchester United's midfield players at this side of the ball, so you can actually throw it directly into space, into the striker's feet. That is, honestly, I don't know how to highlight that enough.
It's because they man mark, isn't it? So,
And
I mean,
they man mark, yeah.
So they go with the opposition midfield players is. But when we talk about managers, I think it's really interesting. We always speak about, obviously he hasn't gone great for United this season, but we always talk about a manager, he needs results. Of course, but that's the same for every manager. I actually think Erik ten Hag needs performances to give you belief going forward. Because I think Manchester United fans, when you speak to them, they're actually back Erik ten Hag. And I think you can accept the results this season in terms of they've had injury problems. You can talk about, the ownership, different things. And you can make some sort of reason why it maybe hasn't gone as well as as people thought. But I think sometimes when you're watching your team, you've got to feel like you can see something, see where it's going, even if you're losing a game. And that's the thing I would worry as a Manchester United fan. I don't quite see where this is going in terms of what's the end result. I feel like we're just going to see a lot more. That's what it is. I don't think that can go up against Liverpool, City and Arsenal, over the next couple of years playing like that and think that you're going to sort of go close to winning a Premier League title.
No, I mean, when Jim Ratcliffe came in, we almost said, didn't we, it's like an audition to the end of the season. And what he needs is to build a style, a system, a pattern. And we don't see a pattern. Now, what I would say is Jamie's absolutely right. I think most Manchester United fans, including myself, back Erik ten Hag, back the manager and want him to succeed. And think about the performances this week. So Brentford, you can never accept that. That is a low in terms of all that's where you're questioning desire, you're questioning work ethic, you're questioning sort of the parts of the game where you're thinking, have they thrown, have they sort of, if you like, when people say the manager's lost the dressing room, that's the type of performance. I think Jamie Redknapp said it. That's the type of performance that will get your manager sacked. I actually don't think in the Chelsea or the Liverpool game, we're seeing that type of performance the same as Brentford. The Brentford is by far the worst performance this week in terms of the energy and the spirit of the performance. Chelsea, you lose in the last minute. It's embarrassing. It's bad losing 2 goals late on. But actually, you can lose a game of football that way. Today, the same bad habits, the same poor structure, the same defensive errors, the same gaps in midfield, all there. But then there's still a level of effort and desire. What I would say is that it is baffling, some of the things that you see. There is some parts of that team that you wonder what is going on in the coaching aspect during the week and what is the instruction. Because I can't believe that Casemiro or Bruno or Kobe Mainoo are just doing this off their own back. They must be being told to do it. But then to be told to do that and to watch it is, like I say, it's strange. It's very, very strange to see. No other team in the league plays as badly out of possession as Manchester United, and that's why they concede. How many shots have they conceded today? In the end, I've lost. I mean, we're at 15 at half time, so let's say it's over 20. It will be, I'm sure. We sort of lost count because the game was so good in the second half. But that's got to stop. It's got to stop. It has to stop quickly. The FA Cup.
But that's easy to stop. I really do believe that. And it's not me just having a go at Erik ten Hag. I've never been a manager. We both have. Obviously, you had a little go at coaching, obviously with England, Valencia, different places. But the basic principles of being tough to play against an opposition, I don't think it's that hard to coach. Really, we've all been on the training pitch, haven't we? Keeping the team compact, narrow, back four. Where's our starting position? Are we high? Are we deep? But we're together. It's not. This is basic. It's the basics, isn't it? We're not talking about, sort of Pep Guardiola football or Jurgen Klopp football or movement and rotations in midfield. It's sort of just being difficult to beat, and something that you'd probably expect from a team who were actually coming up into the division. Obviously, they know they're a little bit out the depth. Quality-wise, we say, okay, we're going to be tough to beat. We're going to make it difficult for X, Y, Z, whoever you're coming up against. And that's just the really strange thing in terms of Manchester United, where they're actually going forward. Because today, everyone will come out the ground, they'll be delighted. It was a brilliant game. Stop Liverpool getting taking them off the top of the league. But when you still look at the bigger picture of how the game started and where it finished, there is still a lot, isn't it, to sort of leave you scratching your head.
And the one thing I would say is that 9 out of the players that started today would probably start in Erik ten Hag's best 11. So this idea that they're decimated with injuries in sort of two positions, left back and left centre back. Obviously, Varane, Lindelof, Martinez would come in for Cambuala, and then Luke Shaw or Malacia would come in at left back probably. So you're talking about sort of like 2 positions where they've got real injury issues. But actually, the bench is as strong as it's probably going to be. Antony, Mount, Amrabat, Diallo, all on the bench today. So the front 6 is probably, like you say, McTominay wasn't playing, but generally Manchester United had most of the players that they would want available in the front parts of the pitch. Maguire and Dalot would definitely probably be in the team, I would say. You talk about Martinez and Shaw, so it's not as if you can sort of point towards the fact that the team's obliterated, and then you think, well, okay, then I can understand why they're still. This has been whatever players have gone out onto the pitch, we've seen the same errors and the same sort of ways, and it's difficult to defend. It is really difficult to defend. That's such a strange week of football that we've watched from Manchester United. If you look at that week of football and you try to analyse that on your coaching badges or your licence or as a pundit or as a fan, you can't even put it together. It's odd. It's such an odd team to watch. And I don't know what really other to say than that. You know what I mean? It's fun at times, entertaining, but mad.
So that's United's week. Liverpool's week has been, there's 2 wins and a draw on the face of it. Carra, that's good, isn't it? That's good. And, it could have been worse in the end here.
Yeah, it could have been. But it's interesting how important that point will be because, that puts them still on top of the league with Arsenal. Obviously, they've got goal difference. I mean, I think if Arsenal or Manchester City play as well as Liverpool did here, they win. And that's all the teams are different. I actually think Manchester City are the best team. I think defensively we know that Arsenal are the best at the moment. And I think Liverpool have probably got more goals, more players they can bring off the bench to maybe try and win a game. But we know Liverpool are more chaotic. The other 2, I would say, Manchester City definitely have more control. So do Arsenal. And that's just let Liverpool down a little bit today. The fact that they are a little bit more chaotic has just allowed Manchester United to get back into the game and Liverpool to drop 2 points. But I mean, listen, there's an awful long way to go. I do believe that Arsenal will drop points in a different way. I think Arsenal may have games where they don't score. Maybe away from home, they're trying to chase that 1 goal, whereas I think Liverpool will always score goals. And Manchester City are Manchester City. I think for Liverpool to win the league, and I've always believed this, I think they need the 2 of them to play each other in the Champions League semi-final. I think they both need to get through because I know psychologically, physically, what it's like playing an English team at that sort of, we played Chelsea a lot in those games in the semi-final. It takes a lot out of you. And when you're also going for a league title as well, I think that could still help Liverpool. But even though there's disappointments here tonight, I think in a day or two, Liverpool will still look at that league table and say Liverpool are still top of the league alongside Arsenal. They're still in a great position.
If it wasn't for this Manchester City perfect sort of phenomenon that sometimes they have at this stage in the season, Liverpool have experienced that themselves more than anybody. There's just this thing that, and look, if it is a normal season where all the sort of, if you like, front runners drop points, then great, it'd be great for us. But you just have this thing about City where you think that they could go perfect and that all the points drop by teams like Liverpool or Arsenal, not having that 3-point cushion. Arsenal not just getting that goal on that Trossard counter-attack at sort of the Etihad last week, whenever it was. Just things like that. I always think that if you're going to win a title and you're going to shift a mountain of a team like City, you've got to do something. If Liverpool score late on here, I nearly said it with 5 minutes to go, that on your way into a title, you need to win one of these. You know what I mean? It might be a different time. It might be in a couple of weeks that game comes for Liverpool. So I'm not saying they're out of the title race today, but just when Arsenal didn't get that goal at City and Liverpool didn't get that goal late on, having equalised here, because of City's perfection and City's way, you just get the feeling that you might be looking back at the end of the season and thinking, well, because of the high standard, that this is where it could be lost. But in any other season, in any other time, 7 points from a week is a great return, and a point at Old Trafford is a great return ordinarily for any team. So, but we're not talking about normal times. We're talking about Pep Guardiola and Manchester City, and that is the issue here.
So just to cover off the other two before we finish from yesterday, I was at Brighton watching Arsenal, and it struck me that there was so little jeopardy in that game, and that was meant to be one of Arsenal's tough ones away at Brighton, and they won it in the way that I, looking in from the outside, and I bow to what you guys say, would normally speak about Manchester City, a kind of take it for granted win. And that struck me as something perhaps a little bit new about Arsenal.
Oh, these are proper performances that Arsenal are putting in. They're not just performances whereby they're winning games. You talk about performance levels in every single department. These are real performances. Even the one at the Etihad was a real performance from a defensive perspective, as good as you'll see. And yesterday was so professional. A title-winning type performance where you just sort of, if you like, do your job. I actually think, and I hope Arsenal beat Bayern Munich. Of course I do. I actually think Arsenal will struggle against Bayern Munich. I think it'll be. I know Bayern Munich at this moment in time are having a torrid time in the Bundesliga, but I just feel that Arsenal will struggle against the might, the history, that going to the Allianz in the second leg. That may just be too much for them from a point of view. Sometimes there's a learning that has to occur in the Champions League. I think that Arsenal may experience that in the next couple of weeks. Whether that's good for them or bad, we don't know yet. City, I'm not so sure. But they've all got European football. They've all got things to contend with. It's tight, but City will be very happy this weekend, I think. I think they'll be happy that Liverpool have dropped 2 points today.
I think there's this thing that we look at, and it'll have changed on the back of Liverpool draw and the Opta predictor. I mean, so it's never going to go exactly how you think, but I just feel for a long time Arsenal have been very undervalued. I really do believe that, because they look so strong defensively that when you're going into a game, and when I played for Liverpool, we were that type of team where we were never a team who sort of outscored teams. That was probably more Manchester United. We were a team who we could go somewhere and think we're going to keep a clean sheet, whether that was in Europe or the Premier League. And it does give you that belief through the team that you only need one. You know, and I think sometimes with Liverpool, there's always that feeling like you need 2 or 3. And they're more than capable of that, Liverpool. But just watching Arsenal yesterday, and I agree with you, it was one of those games that you think could easily be a draw. But I think if Arsenal are going to have problems, I'm not sure if this stat's right, but I think they've 4 times this season they haven't scored in a game. I think that's more than City and Liverpool, and that could be the way that they drop points. You know, whether it's a 0-0 or a 1-1, you can see a freaky goal or something like that. I've always felt Manchester City was still the favourite, even when they were sort of a couple of weeks ago 3 points behind. I still believe Manchester City are the team to stop in this title race.
Did you, last one on City, because we haven't covered their game specifically, was there a moment at all yesterday when you doubted them? Palace scored a good, very, very good early goal, actually.
Not really. It almost felt too early. You know, I mean, I didn't see. I come back in for the second half. I thought I can't watch Manchester City and Arsenal on the same day. That won't be good for me. But when it went 1-0, it gives you a little bit of hope if you're obviously a rival, an Arsenal fan or Liverpool fan. But no, and I thought it was ominous, just De Bruyne and Haaland getting back. And for me, they're the two best players in the league. Or you just think of the physicality of Haaland, he will score goals. Kevin De Bruyne is the best player in the Premier League. And if those two start to click, I think they are a level above of what, Arsenal and Liverpool have got in terms of going forward. So I thought it was quite ominous the way City sort of, went one down and still come back and won so convincingly.
The first time I felt ominous was when Oscar Bob scored that goal away at St James's Park. I don't know when that was, about 2-3 months ago. And you thought, that little feeling that you have that you were thinking,
It was a long one.
No, but that feeling that you have, you think, oh, not them, because you don't. If they go on a run, and that was the first time that I got that ominous feeling, and it's sort of been a little bit like that since. And they're on a special run, aren't they? But look. All three teams are going great guns at the moment. You can't really be critical of any of them. They're all fantastic. They're doing a great job. Last year we all expected, I think, Arsenal, that they would fall away. They had that sort of emotion about them, that they didn't have that resilience, that robustness. And the great thing is to see them, that great growth that they've had in a year. And going back 3 or 4 years where I expected that, I thought the ceiling for Arsenal and Mikel Arteta was 4th. I genuinely thought that 3-4 years, I thought that would be as best as he would get. I didn't think they would invest and believe and grow where they've got to, but they're at really high level now, Arsenal. This is a really high level of performance, and it will take, I think, Liverpool and City to the end. It will, because I don't see them falling away and just going like that. That's not going to happen. And look, unless they got 3 or 4 injuries and something stupid happened. But I do see where Carra's point is, that the Champions League is something that could distract them somehow, just mentally and physically, could just somehow take them away from it. But let's see what happens. I mean, this is where Arsenal Football Club wanted to be. They weren't in these positions for so long. Champions League quarter-finals, going for a title. It's been so long since they've been in this position that let's see what happens in this next week. It's good that we're talking about it.
It is. It does not keep us talking, doesn't it? Which is wonderful, because we're in that business and we love the football, and there's 1 point between 3 of them, 7 games to play.
Yeah.
Thank you, fellas.
Thanks, Peter. Thank you.
Thank you.